right, let me just share my screen. Okay, we're all set. All right, hi, I'm Kyle. I'm on the Secure team. And I just want to start by identifying who's on the Secure and Defend team. It's kind of one umbrella. So when I say we in this presentation, we know who I'm talking about. Valerie is our UX manager for Secure and Defend. Tally is leading our research efforts for both Secure and Defend. On the Secure side, it's Camelia, Annabelle, and myself. And on Defend, it's Becca and Andy. So today we're taking a look at automating our users' workflow with a feature called Auto-Remediation. This is a major feature that we'll be building out across Secure and Defend as we continue to evolve and iterate, though we're at a very early stage, and today we're just going to take a look at some of the small iterative steps that we've been taking recently. Okay, so just some overview. What is auto-remediation? Well, it's related to vulnerability management and security vulnerabilities, in which the user's workflow is manually to take a look at reported security vulnerabilities and identify, investigate, classify, remediate, and mitigate vulnerabilities. Let me just move something really quick. Auto-remediation automates this process. So what's the problem is analyzing and remediating vulnerabilities reported. That process that I just talked about, it's very manual and it's very time consuming for teams. So why is this valuable? Bottom line, it saves time for the team and it makes the customer more secure. Really, as I've said it a couple times, there's a big emphasis here on time. Oof, it's loud. Sorry. It's not just the time fixing vulnerabilities, it's also the time teams spend on investigating them and reaching out to their colleagues and saying, hey, could you take a look at this? And sometimes a lot of vulnerabilities reported are false positives. So that's why I emphasize so much about time, and it'll make a little bit more sense when we take a look at what this flow look like. So consider and when talking about value, consider with auto-remediation that fixes are applied while the customer sleeps. The system is fixing them while they sleep. So a bit of context around here. Where are we at right now? Our current capabilities are limited to dependency scanning. So in Secure, we have 4 scans: dependency scanning, container scanning, static analysis scanning, and dynamic analysis scanning. We also have license scanning, but that's a little bit different than this. So dependency scanning with projects using Yarn. So we're a bit limited in capabilities. However, we're introducing new capabilities that would be able to offer solutions to vulnerabilities with dependency scanning and container scanning. So let's just take a look at what that UX would look like, or what the UX looks like today. So what we're looking at is the security dashboard or vulnerability list, which is reporting what vulnerabilities have been detected. And we have it filtered down to dependency scanning because that's just what our current capability is at the moment. These table rows are blanked out, but they are the reported vulnerabilities. And so this is where the process is that I said teams would come here and they would search through them and they would investigate them and they would read information about them. If they wanted to learn more about it, they would click more info here, and then a modal will come up and give them more information about that vulnerability. One thing we see here is that actually a solution is available. So the system is letting them know that a solution is available. One UX thing to call out is on the actual vulnerability list, it wasn't displayed on this screen. So they actually had to, would have to have clicked more info for this then to be disclosed, for this to be displayed, of course. From there, their options are to resolve with a merge request, download a patch locally and resolve it, or create an issue. And so if they chose to resolve with a merge request, it would create the merge request with the diff, with the vulnerability fix. So from what we can see, like based on our current UX, the problem to solve is this is a cumbersome process because the flow's very time consuming, going one by one. And also when solutions aren't available, insights aren't displayed or communicated to the user anywhere. But those are kind of the immediate problems, but zooming out just a bit, when we jumped into the next iteration, we wanted this iteration to be one that introduces automation to that workflow that we just saw. And we wanted to identify a UX that's consistent across the multiple capabilities coming out. Like I said, we're coming out with new capabilities for dependency scanning and container scanning. Okay, so our approach is we wanted to answer a couple questions. How would the user know that auto-remediation is available? How is the feature configured? Side note, our objective is that it's always working out of the box. That's our goal. When would the auto-remediation happen? How would the users be aware of auto-created fixes? And what is the user's perception of auto-created fixes happening? So we broke this up iteratively into a few steps, and I have all the links here if you're curious about them. The UX Epic lays it all out, but the first step is to identify an MVC where when solutions are available for vulnerabilities, those merge requests with those solutions are already created. So it takes that manual step out of the process. From identifying an MVC with engineering, we also wanted to get some early validation research on that. The second step is to auto-merge the auto-created merge requests. And so at the end of these two steps, these two sort of key iterations, or the epic that encompasses these two steps, is we will have automation. We will have some capabilities to automatically resolve vulnerabilities. Where we're at right now in terms of these steps is the first one. We've identified an MVC and we have some validation research around it. There's a more detailed link here to a more detailed in-depth UX UI overview of why we came out with this MVC. Just a little bit more about trade-offs and whatnot, but I'd like to go ahead and walk through that now. Okay, so in terms of activation, the location is here in the security left and compliance left navigation. There's also this new configuration section. In this configuration section, we will see the auto fix vulnerabilities. It's not turned on by default. I want to emphasize this is something we want to take a look at in our next discovery when we're auto-merging auto-created merge requests. Just to get a little bit more feedback before we do that. The other thing about this screen is, like, while this is our capability is only for dependency scanning, there will be an upcoming capability for container scanning. So having a unified view to see those prerequisites, the prerequisites being the configuration needed for the feature to work, will help be able to communicate that to the user. Just some kind of cross-team learning about the information architecture of having this configuration and settings section here is we've ran a couple studies now, and we're consistently finding that users are, when prompted, for example, in this case, to turn on the auto fix feature, they weren't prompted with, oh, go to security. They were just prompted with go to auto fix, and they determined it was a security related feature. We saw 4 out of 5 of them come there, and this has been a pattern in our studies, and this is something we're going to keep taking a look at in terms of information architecture. In the document, I linked a 1.5-minute video that I'd recommend taking a look at, because it was just interesting to hear the user's feedback when we tested it. Okay, so talking about when we're activating this, when the user actually defaults and turns on autofix, this feature, we're letting them know the user who enables this autofix will be the author of the auto-created merge request. And when they actually save it, it's giving them feedback that, for example here, Sam is the author of the auto-created. That would have been the user who turned it on. So the user who activated the feature will be the author of the automatically created merge request with the vulnerabilities. We had some concerns about this. It was one of the trade-offs that we made for this particular MVC. But when we got it in front of users, we saw a trend in the sentiment. I'd actually like to just take a look at what we saw. This participant, when prompted, when going through this flow, we found there wasn't a usability problem with this. They all understood that they would be the author. So this is more about usefulness. It's a usefulness finding. And let's just see what the participant had to say about this.
Interested to showing that I would be when the merge request was created, it would be in my name. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think for those things, I would like create another user, like a bot account or something. I would prefer that it's not in my name.
Why?
Because if there's like a lot of these merge requests and people are commenting on it, then I would be pinged. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
So this was a general sentiment that we found. And so where we kind of find ourselves is this really wasn't working well with users. We didn't get good feedback there. We don't like it. Internally, it could work for an MVC just to get the initial one out there. But one thing we want to take a look at is actually kind of having a member called security bot being the author of these auto-created merge requests. So a couple things that we're looking at right now, and the implementation of this isn't till 12/9, so we have a little bit of time, is, let me just step back for a second and explain this a little bit further. If you defaulted to this, there would be a preset member there already in an instance called GitLab Security Bot, and it would essentially activate that member and then deactivate it. We do have an instance of this actually that we may be able to leverage, which is the GitLab Alert Bot. And so we're going to look into that with engineering. And the other thing is we're going to talk with the AppSec team and see if there's not some security issues that we need to consider here, especially since that member would be eventually auto-merging auto-created merge requests that had to do with vulnerabilities. And actually there's an AppSec office hours after this, and I'm going to pose these questions. So if anyone's really curious, you're welcome to join me. Okay, so the next aspect of this feature I want to talk about is the discoverability of it. There are two cases to cover when displaying available solutions. One is when the feature is, one is when the solution is available, and whether or not the feature is enabled or not enabled. So previously we saw that we weren't communicating in the UI when a solution is available. For our first iteration, we're going to change that by showing the light bulb. We see that there's another icon here, which is a comment one. What we're looking at is yet to be released, but it will be released. Is on this page, it's slightly different, but on the next page, there's a different pattern here than what we previously saw in the current UX. And this is also introducing our vulnerability objects page. So when you click this table row, it will take you to this dedicated objects page. So this is different than that information modal here. A couple key differences I just want to call out as a side note to the objects is that you can have discussions around objects, and you can assign a status to that. Otherwise, the description and other details about the vulnerability can be found here. And we see here that a solution is available. So that's the same pattern. They can resolve the vulnerability with a merge request with that call to action. Now, if the new feature is enabled, since the merge request with the solution, with the diff, would have already been created, we're going to just show that right on the outside here in the table row. Similar to how we do with when there's issues around vulnerabilities created. So we're reusing that pattern, and it'll be shown here with a prefix that says autofix. From there, the user can directly click that, and they will land on the auto created merge request. Okay, in terms of then findability of these auto-created merge requests, the auto-created merge request will follow the same pattern as any other merge request and can be found in the merge request section. Though with the auto-created merge requests, there will be a label assigned to them when they're created called GitLab Vulnerability Autofix. So the same pattern, the same filtering for that would apply when you're adding a label, and you could come in here and add GitLab Vulnerability Autofix. In the future, as capabilities expand, we can take a look at maybe having it be in one of the initial filters, and that could follow the same pattern we have. So for example, it would be autofix, and then you could select all autofixes, or you could select it, you can drill down by container scanning, or this scan or that scan, or whatever the specific capabilities are. Okay, now in terms of awareness for users, we're looking at the project level dashboard, and we have a banner here that's letting the user know when they land here. Security vulnerabilities have been found that have fixes. Merge requests with these fixes have been created. If they click the call to action, that will take them to the pre-filtered merge request page. So one of the benefits of this is the learnability aspect of that label that we just took a look at. But it's also, most importantly, just letting them know that these merge requests have been created. We don't want to create a bunch of noise initially. One of the major complaints that we've heard from a number of users about GitHub, for example, and their feature is the noise that's created with emails. You may have even seen emails yourself with that, and they can be a bit noisy. So for initial step, we want to do this. The results that we saw in UX research were very positive. Generally, the copy and the layout of the banner were clear and drove action. In both cases, 4 out of 5 participants understood correctly that there was fixes available, and also understood that the merge requests were created by the system. Now, when we come to our next step of auto-merging the auto-created merge requests, this banner can even help us then in a different way, which is surfacing merge requests that perhaps had a failed pipeline or something like that, because otherwise we wouldn't need to create noise for them, because if they were auto-merged, then it's done. We don't need to add to their time. All right, so that pretty much concludes it. I put all the relevant links that I went over into this document. Here are some of the UX research findings, but otherwise, thank you so much. And if you have any thoughts, please reach out to the Secure team.